let's go. Hey, welcome to the Death of a Dream podcast, where certainly dreams are coming true every single day. Not only in your life, in my own, and we'll continue to work through how we make those moves happen together, because this is like the place, right? Where we all kind of rally together. And sometimes that's in silence and sometimes that's in like pure joy in essence. But what I love most about the podcast is that you're allowed to kind of silently, loudly, quietly move through this motion in your life, however you see fit. And so if that looks like shouting from the rooftops that you are making moves in your life, that you are committing to this, or that means that your commitment is like this silent journey that you take all by yourself, slowly testing what sticks and what doesn't, and moving quietly, like whatever that looks like for you. That's what I love about podcasting the most, is that you don't have to be in physical attendance. You don't have to have a physical, right, like announcement. You can just exist here and explore here, and no one has to know. What? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So that's kind of why I love this place the most. Podcasts just exist in their own little world, in their own little delicious beauty. Gosh, it's amazing. So let's go ahead and ground ourselves in our greatness. I don't know, but I've been told, I don't know what song that's from, but my great thing is just like this continued higher understanding of self. And the things that used to like throw me into a tizzy, even where I would come on here and be violently angry, and bring that energy here, which like, I'm sorry if I disrupted any of you in those episodes, for goodness sakes, what a crazy, if you get a mouse a cookie, right? Like if you give an egomaniac a microphone, here we are. That so much is the beautiful part of the unfolding of this story as it evolves, right? Like we should hopefully see growth in me, in you, in all of us, right? We should. I hope that you can feel shifts and changes from me. This is not like me showing up on a microphone and not putting in the work on the back end. Like, gosh, I was talking to my niece yesterday and I'm like, well, I probably read about two books a week at this point. And a lot of that is just continued research of this show. A lot of that is just continued research and growth of myself. And that's not like, oh, read a book. That's literally like, I always wanted to be a person who read books, had a reason to read books, got to dive into stories. Like I've always loved stories, and right, like now I am. If that's not your thing, it doesn't have to be, but like that continued growth, that continued commitment to figuring this out, to navigating, to leveling up, to like follow where I'm being led. This is not like a self-led, here goes Hanna, she's gonna run the route, she knows what the route is. Like I have no idea. I have no exact timeline or route scheduled out. I have no idea where we're going to end up. I have not the slightest clue as to what the next step even looks like, right? It's just discovery. in real time. It's following where I'm led. It's understanding and silencing myself, that's a hard one. We still have lessons to learn there, right? But like silencing myself enough to be able to listen to the path as it unfolds, right? And be able to weigh my own opinions and really understand what's an issue, what isn't, or where do I stand on this, or where do I just not stand at all. And I don't know. I think that presents new challenges, and we're going to dive into that today because this is always, right, a representation of new challenges, new opportunities to overcome, to better understand, the complications of life, the complications of what someone goes through as they journey down this crazy road called life, right? Like, it's so beautiful and amazing. And I think the most beautiful and amazing part is that everybody has their own constructs of what that looks like. And that informs essentially what we're here to do, what we're here to learn, like what choices we chose, right? What story we're here to write and to bring to life. Okay, sheesh. I love stories. Also, this is not related to my great thing. Kind of, sort of. But the love you give, the hate you give. It was streaming on YouTube. I don't know what other platforms it's on, but if you do want to pick up and watch something and learn and feel, like really walk in someone's shoes and have a deeper understanding of the systemic racism that exists in this country and like how it works and how it hurts. And I thought it was a like deeply meaningful piece for me as someone who will never experience that. I thought it was really helpful to see all the sides of what someone goes through that is experiencing systemic racism. So the hate you give, and I think it's just such an important piece. I don't think that it is everything, right? Like this is one story, but it was really meaningful to me yesterday when I watched it. And stories, period. Like there are so many things that you as the physical person you are in your body that you will never experience. And so if you want a better understanding, starting with stories is a great place. And I think really the hope is that people keep bringing stories and they have the strength to bring that into the world, whatever that story is, that they see worth in that story being told, so that people can continue to learn and expand and understand and continue to do better by maybe just experiencing even a little piece of that and feeling what that feels like sinking into those shoes. And even though you can't walk that exact path, a story starts to create a bridge between what you can't feel or know and what does really exist. And so that's like a complete side note, but I felt like whoosh. And transcending that, the importance of your story and whatever you are experiencing and knowing that there's a reason, right? There's a reason that this story is being written. And, sometimes it isn't always to the wonderment of your being, but there's still worth there. And my biggest experience of this podcast is that there's worth in everyone's story, in every single page that you turn. There is worth there. And putting that all together and believing that your story is worth being told is just such an important part in how we continue to evolve as a society as a whole. Okay, go ahead, take time, recognize yourself for your great thing. Watch that movie. I think it's a movie. It will be well worth your time. I thought it was such a important portrayal of what people are experiencing. And okay, take note. Take it in. Take it in. It is out there. It is a story that's being told. It is an important story to understand, to continue to try to understand, even though we never can. And tell your story. It's important too. Okay, recognize yourself for your great thing. Write it down, shout it out, say it out loud. Do whatever you need to do with that. Just make sure that there is some sort of physical acknowledgement of your greatness. Do it every day. Do it once a week. If you feel called, the more you do it, the more you search for greatness, the more that you believe that you are great. Hello, that's how we shift things. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in today. Here we go. So I began to realize yesterday, as I'm just slowly spinning out of control. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, you are. No, actually, I feel like the honest reality is that everything is so in control that I'm trying to create chaos, right? And I think that is probably the most frustrating part of the human condition. We are conditioned to believe that we are unworthy of happiness and joy. And what that looks like in my life is like constantly looking around the corner. Like, no, this can't be this easy. This can't be this beautiful. I'm not allowed to be this happy. I'm not worthy of this life that I'm creating for myself. There's gotta be, right? There's gotta be something. There's gotta be something coming. There's darkness on the horizon, right? And even in me saying that or thinking that or searching that out, right, I began to create that reality. And so for me now, it's like now I can feel myself. And as I was writing out like the description of what this would be on Facebook Live, it's not even about being better than that. And here's what happens. It's like you begin to level up and there's this new level of consciousness that you get to. And so you understand now, and I think before you can unleash or unlock that new level, right? Like before you can get the mushroom to bop down on your head as Mario, before you can unlock that, you're going to have this kind of limbo period. And for me, I've probably been in limbo for about 3 weeks where it's like, okay, I am accepting. But there's still this moment where I'm looking around that corner where I'm like seeing that thing, that old story repeat. And it's triggering me, right? And it's kind of igniting me into unleashing that old mindset. And what didn't used to happen was this new filter where I transfer everything just back to love. I know. Take a breath. Okay? This is a big one. Now that we're transferring everything back to love and understanding, it's hard to stay in that angry, unraveling phase. And it's almost like there's a new filter that's been added. And so in this new filter stage, right? I'm just working in there and transferring everything back to go through that new filter. And eventually, once we unlock, I think you don't look for that resistance anymore. At least that's what I'm hoping. But you have to practice it enough, right? And stay committed to the practicing of that. And it's not a perfect science, right? There is no like perfect decoding of what that is. There is no, oh yeah, I've done that. I filter that. Good. Check the box. And there's no perfection there. When you're in this test phase of this new filter, okay, this is the best way that I can describe it. When you're in those test phases of that level up moment, you're going to be tested again and again and again, right in there. Right. And so you seem like, oh, no. See, I told you. And I had that moment yesterday where like, see, I told you it was too good to be true. See, and I wanted to work all these things through this angry filter again. And those were conversations that I had. And then it all came back to love and understanding. Right. But it didn't used to. And so whereas yesterday I wanted to have this moment where it's like, no, everything's spinning out of control, right? I'm looking for the resistance of this new movement. I am looking for the disconnect. I'm looking for something to go wrong because bottom line, like, I don't believe that I'm worthy of this life still. And I think that's a continued exploration of what this life might look like moving forward. And we're all going to have that. And every time that you reach this point, right, know that as you're adding filters, as you're adding deeper understanding of the human condition, you're going to continue kind of cycling every time you level up. And so those things that are placed there really aren't there to show you that the old world still exists. They're really being presented. And if you notice, they're not as like glaring or largely represented. Usually it's just like one or two little things, right? And so as they're presented, you're really just being tested, right? You're honing in your ability to like establish and understand this new skill, this new level. And so you're not going to be perfect at it. There are going to be times where you completely spin off the track and you don't do it. The biggest thing is just consciousness that still exists, consciousness of the spinning, consciousness of what caused that deeper spinning, and really being able to sit with that thought for long enough to explore and explain to yourself why that happened and where we went and how we got there. Right? Wow. Okay. We could just stop recording right there. But it really is. I mean, think about that in your own life. And even if you're not leveled up to everything transferring back to love and compassion, and maybe that's beyond where you are right now in your own journey, even if you're not there, what I want you to look at is how often are you looking around the corner, right? Trying to find resistance that maybe isn't even there, or trying to work on something that creates resistance because you can't find it in other things, right? And I think about my own journey with food and weight loss or weight maintenance, right? I just wanted to maintain or lose. And I think about when I defaulted to there, it really was because everything else was going right. It was like, well, everybody's supposed to be mad at their body, so I better jump on that bandwagon, right? And I was finding resistance even when it didn't exist. I didn't believe that I was worthy of being completely satisfied with my life where it stood. And so I created resistance even when it wasn't necessary, right? Like when I would master things, or like, okay, totally handling college, totally handling this moment, graduating, getting good grades, got the bomb man, like, ooh, girl, go, right? And I would still just be like, oh, but yeah, you got all that. You want the trifecta? You want that perfect body? Let's go. Move it, right? And there's nothing but support in women hating their bodies. And so that was like an easy tap out default to find resistance. Okay, yeah, totally on board. I'm supposed to hate my body, right? Like, okay. And so I was creating resistance that really didn't need to exist, but I was creating it because, bottom line, I don't think at that point in my life that I am worthy of the perfect life, right? Of this beautiful creation of a life that really I manifested. Do I even deserve that much love? Do I even deserve this much goodness? No. So let's create something to be dissatisfied with. Yeah. Breathe that in. And even if it doesn't look like weight loss or hating your body for you, look for the things that you are creating, right? Resistance with, especially, and this is my go-to, especially when everything's going right. Because there's always that belief in the back of my head that there's something coming, that you don't deserve this, that you couldn't have created this, that this really isn't in your story. So there's something bad coming. And that's a transferring into, right back into the scarcity mindset, that joy must be limited, that happiness has to have an endpoint. You can't exist there forever. Or can you? And are you absolutely worthy of that? And that's not to say that darkness isn't going to come, but for goodness sakes, why are we so focused on the darkness that we probably create more than is even destined for us? Why are we so focused on calling that into our lives? Why do we not believe in all the goodness that we deserve? If you've already met a lot of resistance on this road that you call life, you may have paid your dues, right? And so maybe we can all stop looking for it. Maybe we can stop creating resistance that doesn't even exist. And yesterday when I was talking to a friend, while we didn't cover this exact topic, I began to realize that I'm trying to create resistance out of things that I'm just being tested on, right? That I'm just supposed to be testing out of. And even this very discussion that we were having yesterday is inevitably a test, right? A test to see where I'm at with the levels. And the funny thing is, it was just a one-off thing. Overall, right? What I was experiencing overall was like a very small existence, right? And that's how you can tell it probably is just a test. Can you continue to be grateful? Can you continue to just love and find good and find worth in that person where they are in their story, in their journey, right? And it's not to throw me completely off of this path. It's to continue to test exactly where I'm at. Like, girl, we're sticking in the dipstick, right? That's like an oil thing. And we're pulling it out. And I think, like my dad would say, you have to like wipe all the oil off and then put it back in and then pull out. And you can see where the oil level is. I don't think this ever worked for me because the oil in my vehicles was always so low that every time I would do that, there would just never be oil on the stick when I would stick it back in. And so then that would create this very, very unhappy dad because either A, I'm not doing it right, Or B, there is no oil in my vehicle whatsoever. And so, yes, it needs oil. And you can't continue to burn your car oil down that low. Your car is going to explode. I don't know what happens when you don't have oil. But I imagine it is a dire thing, right? From what my dad's response to the oil levels on my car always was, like, it's bad. You don't even want to know what happens. I don't even want to have to tell you. You should just do this. You should just get your oil changed. But, right, like, how many times does that happen where we're just constantly checking? And that's what these tests are. At every level up moment, you're probably going to have maybe a week's worth of tests, maybe a month's worth of tests, right? And every time that you're being tested, it's just to see if you've learned that lesson. You're probably not going to go back. I mean, you are not going to go back, but you will continue to be tested until you test out, until you ace that test, until you have been tested so much that your default is this new filter, right? That you don't even have to be tested anymore because you're just instantly going there. But unless you're tested, right, we won't really know where you stand and if you have experienced enlightenment and power up, right? We can't really know unless we call it out and we keep doing it. And so it's not always resistance for the sake of resistance as much as it is resistance for the sake of testing, of throwing the noodle against the wall and seeing if it sticks, right? Like, we don't know if you're done yet. We don't know if you have the ability to carbon copy and paste this into the rest of your life if we never put something in front of you. Wow. Exactly. That's exactly it. Like, we aren't being resisted because we are not worthy of happiness and joy, because you absolutely are. And like, bottom line, you're just worthy. I am worthy, right? And so don't keep searching for resistance. If you keep searching for it, you will keep getting it. Start searching for what you're worth, right? And just know all of those levels of resistance, all of those tests, really look at where the consistency lies, right? And yesterday, as I was having that conversation, I start to realize how consistent this is and how short-lived those tests are now comparatively, right? And that's how you know. That's how you know you're experiencing this new level, this level up moment, right? The shorter the resistant moments, the shorter the tests, the quicker you pass through that test. And so we're not always being tested to just show us that we are not worthy. Sometimes every time, I think every single time that you're being tested, it really is about you experiencing that next level, you seeing where you stand, and if you have passed by default or if you're still exploring what this level looks like. And for me, it's an exploration. It's a continued exploration of this new level. And where I thought like, oh, I've passed, I've leveled up, here I am. Hello, I am here experiencing this new level. You are, right? But you're always going to be tested as you continue to level up. Pay attention to the consistencies. They're telling you something. And stop looking for resistance that doesn't exist. You are worthy of a beautiful life. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world. Goodbye. Goodbye.